Even in death, Moses was still dangerous. Why would the Prince of Darkness leave his throne of shadows just to fight for a body? Why would Lucifer, ancient, calculating, eternal, descend into a silent mountain valley for a corpse? And what happened on that mountain when no human eyes were watching? When the earth went quiet and both heaven and hell held their breath, this is a mystery almost no church ever speaks about. A moment hidden inside a single, easily overlooked verse in the book of Jude. A confrontation not fought with swords, but with authority. Because when Moses died, his story did not end. Lucifer came for his body, but someone stood in his way. And what happened next revealed something terrifyingly important. Even in death, Moses was still dangerous. This is the Lost Bible pages, where ancient truths resurface and forgotten moments of scripture come alive. If you're ready to go deeper, subscribe and step with us into the unseen. The wind was still on Mount Nebo. The stones were cold beneath tired feet. The sky hung low, heavy with silence. Below, the Jordan River coiled through the valley like silver wire. Beyond it, the promised land, close enough to see, close enough to smell the dust, forever out of reach. Moses stood alone, 120 years behind him, 40 years in Egypt, 40 years in exile, 40 years leading a stubborn, miraculous people through fire, hunger, rebellion, and glory. His robe was worn thin by time, his beard tangled by desert winds, his body marked by decades of obedience. And yet, Scripture tells us something astonishing. His eyes were not dim, his strength had not failed. Moses was not dying of decay, he was being summoned. This was the man who saw fire burn without consuming, who stood before Pharaoh and shattered an empire with a word, who split the sea and watched walls of water rise like gates of judgment. The man who climbed Sinai and came down carrying the law of God, his face blazing so brightly the people begged him to veil it. Now, on Pisgah summit, Moses waited, not for death, for release. God showed him everything. The land promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, hills and valleys, cities and future kings, battles yet to be fought, prophets yet to speak. You have seen it with your eyes, the Lord said, but you will not cross over. It wasn't cruelty, it was justice. Moses had struck the rock in anger. He had misrepresented God before the people. So he would lead Israel to the edge of destiny, but not into it. And yet, God would not let Moses die like an ordinary man. No witnesses stood nearby, no ritual burial, no marked grave, because God himself buried Moses. Deuteronomy records it plainly. He buried him in a valley in Moab, but no one knows the place of his burial to this day. No monument, no shrine, no relic. Deuteronomy 34 verse 6, because God wasn't protecting a memory, he was protecting a mystery. And someone else noticed. As heaven concealed the grave, hell took interest. Lucifer had watched Moses his entire life. From the Nile basket to Pharaoh's court, from Sinai's thunder to the rock struck in frustration. And now, even in death, Moses was still a threat. Why? Because Moses didn't just die as a man, he died as a message. A message that intimacy with God survives failure. That obedience leaves a mark beyond death. That God still claims his servants even when they fall short. Lucifer could not allow that message to stand. So he came. The valley was silent. Dawn had not yet broken. Then the air changed. Lucifer arrived not as a monster, not with chains or flame, but as fallen majesty. Once radiant, now twisted. The wind bent around him. The earth recoiled. He did not search. He knew. He stepped toward the hidden grave with one intention: claim it. Because this wasn't about flesh, it was about ownership. If he could touch what God had buried, he could corrupt what God had sealed, turn reverence into idolatry, memory into obsession, legacy into bondage. This was not theft, it was sabotage. Lucifer reached for the grave, and then another presence arrived. No thunder, no fire, just authority. The archangel Michael descended, armor blazing with restrained power, presence heavy with judgment. He did not draw a weapon. He did not shout. He stood between Lucifer and what God had claimed. Lucifer spoke first, his voice smooth, venomous. The body is mine. He failed. He disobeyed. Death belongs to me. Michael did not argue. He did not debate theology. He spoke one sentence: the Lord rebuke you. That was enough. Lucifer recoiled not from Michael's strength, but from the authority behind the words. Because in that moment, every accusation collapsed. No legal claim, no spiritual right, no permission. God had sealed the grave. Lucifer vanished in fury, and Michael remained guarding what heaven had hidden. Because Moses, even in death, was still part of God's plan. Lucifer didn't come for every prophet. He didn't claim Joseph. He didn't chase Elijah into the fire. He didn't hover over David's tomb. But Moses? Lucifer came himself, because Moses was a key. Moses carried the law, the foundation of covenant, the definition of sin, the framework that would one day point to Christ. Distort Moses, and you distort the law. Moses' body had once radiated divine glory so brightly it terrified Israel. Lucifer hoards power. He desecrates what reflects God. And more than that, Lucifer knew Moses was not finished. Centuries later, on another mountain, Moses would stand again beside Elijah, speaking with Jesus in glory. The law and the prophets standing beside grace. That moment was protected, long before it happened. Michael was not guarding a corpse, he was guarding prophecy. And this battle wasn't just about Moses, it was about you. Because the enemy is not only after your soul, he's after your legacy. Sometimes the most dangerous impact of obedience comes after you're gone. But hear this, what God claims, the enemy cannot seize. What God seals, hell cannot corrupt. If God sent an archangel to defend a grave, he will defend your calling. Your failures are not final. Your obedience is not forgotten. Even your dust matters to God. So what really happened on that mountain? Ownership was declared. Authority was enforced. Grace outshined accusation. Lucifer came with claims. Michael answered with one line, "The Lord rebuke you." And heaven held the ground. Because when God owns your story, even death cannot rewrite it. This isn't just a mystery, it's a promise. And now, you've seen it like never before. You've been watching Bible Mysteries. Stay watchful, stay grounded. And remember, if God will defend a grave, he will defend you. Like, comment, subscribe, share this video. Tell us what other biblical mysteries, ancient texts, or spiritual topics you want us to cover next. Thank you for watching, and until next time, stay curious and stay blessed.